This is a Nailsin News Bulletin. A school teacher told her student that she was having sex with that she would leave her husband for him. Wow, that sounds serious. Beyond just the criminality of it all. Yeah. Heather Mashburn Smith, 37, gave a full post-Miranda confession about having sex with a boy while admitting she knew he was just a teenager. Well, yeah, she was his teacher, so yeah. Well, the pair had chatted over Snapchat, with it turning flirtatious after the 17-year-old student told his teacher she was pretty. Well, let's take a look at the mugshot. Oh, dear God. Well, you know, mugshots, no one's at their best. Maybe dolled up, but good Lord, she's got 2 booger rings, and well, you know, anyway, the teen started making extra trips to Mashburn Smith's classroom in Port Charlotte High School, where they eventually kissed and had sex at least twice. During the disturbing tryst, the teacher complained about her marriage and told the boy she wanted to leave her husband for him when he turned 18, the legal age of consent in Florida. Well, that concerned the boy. It's like, hey, wait a minute. Who stopped chatting and blocked his teacher, who kept messaging him on chat. Mashburn Smith then admitted it all to cops, saying that she made a mistake. She admitted she knew the student was just a teenager. Right, you were his teacher. You're a high school teacher, so anyway. But said he made her feel desired. Yeah. I guess for some reason the husband doesn't really desire her as much anymore or something like that. But anyway, the educator was charged with unlawful sexual activity with minors, which carries a maximum sentence of 30 years in prison. What this woman has done is not just unlawful, it is damaging to the students and staff around her, Charlotte County Sheriff Bill Prummel said. To the staff around her? Well, I mean, it is embarrassing for the profession, I suppose, yeah. And everyone's going to make jokes about us doing it, too. Yeah, that's going to happen. Anyway, she was also suspended from Port Charlotte High School. The actions of this individual are a direct violation of the duty every educator owes to students and families. Charlotte County Public Schools Superintendent Mark Vianello. We will not tolerate anything that compromises student safety. This individual has been placed on administrative leave, so you know we're serious about it, as we work closely with law enforcement and pursue all accountability. Well, you see, this is where again, power of teachers' unions. I think if she had been a secretary or a counselor, get out of here. Because even, all right, so innocent till proven guilty and all that. She hasn't had her trial yet or anything. But she's confessed. And they got, I assume there's screenshots of this chat. Oh, that's all going to disappear, right? How many of these stories have to go? And you still think that, But anyway, there's enough there, not the least of which is her own confession, so she should be fired immediately. More times than not in these stories, it's the disgraced teacher who says, yeah, I'm resigning. It's like, it's crazy, but that's the way it goes. Retired TNLEO. If I were in high school and were a tapping dat, I don't think I would be thinking about anything long term. 7-minute sessions separated by a few weeks would be sufficient. Those nose rings put her at about 2.0 to 2.5 on the 1 to 10 scale. And I sure would not be bragging to my buddies. Yeah, it doesn't indicate that he did. You know, I'm assuming that's how it got out, but I don't know. Anyway, Stacey Abrams' bicycle seat. Dude, she's not even a 2. Agree. Well, you don't agree. He was saying she is. He says the nose rings put her at about a 2. Which I guess if she didn't have the nose rings, she'd be less, or she'd go up a few points. But, yeah. Look, she did a horrible thing. It's not nice to make fun of one's appearance and everything, you know, but this is part of the punishment, you bitch. You know? So, that's nasty. So anyway, there you go. She got caught. She said, yeah, I did it. I just wanted to feel wanted. And I guess he did for a minute or two, you know. Yeah, I mean, he's saying like, hey, she came after me. And, yeah, she had her eye on this one, you know. So I don't know that you can argue. You know, she's this vulnerable, lonely woman. You know, life didn't turn out the way she hoped. The husband doesn't even look at her anymore, and that kind of thing. And she's surrounded by all these young teenage boys. Plus, you know, her own high school life wasn't all that exciting. She was probably overlooked and ignored and stuff like that. And so now she's living out those fantasies. But then she starts, you know, when you're 18, we can be together. And he's like, whoa. Well, I guess I'm going to have to tell people about this. And there you go. It's kind of sad, really. But, you know, stop banging your students. You just can't do that. But you did. Now you're facing 30 years. Well, good luck with that. This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin.
Time now for commentary from Trixie Turner. Trixie?
Doug's studies show that most people avoid studying and opt to just make crap up.
Only after the fill of the bowl.
Okay, hopefully I can be heard now. Jeez. I thought going through EVMux without OBS would fix that problem. But it keeps doing this. Show me. Come on, let me see it. There it is. All right, jeez Louise. It's just the weirdest thing. I don't know. I mean, the idea of like OBS, you got to have your camera set up in play so that it's like it connects the audio along with it, so that even if I have a layer of like a logo over the screen or whatever, it can't hear you and all that sort of stuff, and it's annoying as all get out. So anyway, I'm just gonna draw whatever. For those of you familiar with Dabbleverse stuff. I caught a little bit of the latest and second breakup of Karmic and Felicia, so I think I don't know, draw them as comic book characters battling. I don't have all the details because I can only take so much of that, but you know, they do make good fodder for drawings, so you know there is that. And I don't know, maybe I'll draw some pictures based on some of these videos. But basically, there's little elements of news about DCU films, technically speaking. Well, the Superman and Supergirl films, and then the Batman film. They're filming it now. It's underway. So that's on the way. And probably their best bet. I did not like the first Batman movie, but the Penguin series was excellent. And hopefully this movie will be on par with that. Superman stumbled, and now Supergirl is expected to do more than what you would expect of a Supergirl film. But that's the situation they're in, blah, blah, blah. The videos will go into it. After that, I'll talk about a little bit of Marvel. But it'll start off with a little news about Conan. Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to do the King Conan story. Long overdue. It's amazing that it's going to happen at all. Probably a little much too late than I would have thought, but whatever, you know, if they can craft a good narrative, whatever, it might work. The rest will be news about Blade and just my thoughts on the final trailer for the Spider Noir TV series. Now, these videos will be individually put out on my channel. The Spider Noir one is so short, I might put it on my locals or something. It's really short, and I'm like, oh, what do I do? Here, it's fine. It's tacked on with the rest, but yeah, what are you gonna do? I mean, maybe this will work. Maybe it won't. Alexandria says hi. I wouldn't want to use her desk. Ew. Yeah, there is a problem with the school teachers that do that sort of thing. So Alexandria says Conan will only work if it's R-rated. I'm sure it will be with that, you know, the brutality and whatnot. I don't think it's going to be like Conan the Destroyer or anything like that. So, yeah, that's the deal. So that's the elements. That's the preview. I guess I'll go ahead and start it off with the video about Batman and go into Superman and all that stuff. If it'll start, there it goes. The Batman Part Number 2. First set footage reveals Gotham police scene in Liverpool. Well, it's posing as Gotham. I still can't hear it. So there you go. Batman Part 2 is officially rolling cameras, and the first set images and video have surfaced online. Well, we've already seen the Batmobile running around through snow, so this is a little bit more. Footage posted on TikTok shows filming taking place at Queensway Tunnel in Liverpool, where the location is being used for Gotham City. The video is labeled as the first day of filming and shows crew members working around Gotham police cars, camera rigs, and a tunnel closure. Boy, I bet the locals love all that blocked traffic. Anyway, the new footage follows Matt Reeves officially announcing the cast for the sequel. So everybody's set to go. And there you go. Here we have the stunt guys. And look, to Batman. 2 of them. Oh man, this must be a multiverse movie. No, it's the stuntman. And looks like they haven't advanced or changed the costume much. Unless he starts out in it. Nah, it's probably the same one. Yeah, not a fan of it, but it's what they got, and they're just going to stick with it. So, the leak set video shows a Gotham police cruiser parked outside the Queensway Tunnel. Yeah, he said that. Additional shots show a Gotham police car inside the tunnel. Wow, outside and inside, with the road marked "Tunnel Closed," while production crew members work nearby. Camera rigs can also be seen, blah, blah, blah. One of the Gotham police vehicles has visible damage to the windshield and roof. What criminal did that? Or was it Batman who did it? I don't know. The scene could involve an accident, probably not. Pursuit or aftermath of an action sequence. More likely the latter, Robert Pattinson's stunt double, said to be Rick English, can also be seen riding on top one of the cruisers. All right, so it's him doing it. That's not. Let me refresh the whole page. Maybe it will restart. There you go. I'm not really gonna. I don't know what the rules are on these things. I really don't care. Oh, all right. It's gonna play it. So there's the car. It just looks like you're seeing the aftermath of an accident. Oh man, hopefully this guy's okay. So he doesn't seem to be dressed up as Batman, but maybe they're just testing it out, or Bruce Wayne does something. I don't know. But there you can see the windshield of that car smashed up. So, oh no, that's terrible. So, the hell is that? Hey, they got taxis in Gotham too. So anyway, there you go. That's the scenes. It looks like somebody was horsing around with a police car, had a little too much to drink, and had an accident. But no, it's a scene they're shooting for the Batman #2. So anyway, the set footage comes shortly after Reeves started teasing the sequel again on social media. Last week, Reeves shared early camera tests. Yes, the Batmobile running through snow. Some people speculated Mr. Freeze could still show up in the movie, which would be interesting considering Mr. Freeze is a very fantastical character. There's no such thing as a freeze gun or anything like that, unless they're going to have a guy who is a serial killer who kills people with liquid nitrogen or something like that. Maybe they could craft a Mr. Freeze out of that. But the idea that he has to be in a cold suit all the time, there's really nothing in reality for that. Not yet, anyway. And that his wife had to be cryogenically frozen and he can't fix her. Whatever, something like that, but it's just probably not going to happen. So, you would have to really work around that. Something like Riddler and Penguin, sure, you can change the clothes they wear, but other than that, they're pretty much the same character. Penguin pretty much looks like Penguin, But anyway, that kind of thing. But for something like Man-Bat, you can't have him in there, Mr. Freeze is getting a little closer to a world where you have Superman and the like living in it. And as far as it goes, this Batman doesn't have any of that. They probably should have folded it into the DCU to make that thing work, but they decided not to do that. So Matt Reeves returns to direct and co-wrote the script with Mattson Tomlin. Robert Pattinson's back. And looks like, I guess, Reeves recently confirmed several cast members through posts on X, including Jeffrey Wright, Andy Serkis, Colin Farrell, and Gil Pervez. Reeves also confirmed new additions. Scarlett Johansson. So there you go. There was some stuff that hadn't been fully confirmed yet, like they were still haggling out details, but she's there. Probably with Sebastian Stan, hey, two Marvel alumnus, and probably the married couple of Harvey and Gilda Dent, with Charles Dance as Harvey's dad. Johansson said to be playing Gilda Dent with Stan as Harvey Dent, as Christopher Dent, his father. So there you go. You've got the Harvey Dent story. Probably by the end of the movie becomes Two-Face. That might be the deal. With Gilda Dent there, maybe leaning into Long Halloween narratives, and that she might turn out to be this killer that's going around. Is she going to be a female Mr. Freeze? Because some were suggesting they could make her the Phantasm, but that was a different character. But they could just sort of, well, it's going to be Gilda in this one instead of being Holiday and that sort of thing. Or some suggest he might become the female Two-Face, which gives nods to Batman Earth 1, which was actually Harvey's twin sister, not his wife, who becomes a female Two-Face. And I was like, don't do that. I just, they're not listening. They're still like, Odyssey's on the way with all its crazy castings and stuff. So when I always said even a whiff of that destroys your movie, despite what else it has to offer. Even something as simple as this, Gilda Dent already has a sort of villainous storyline that you can utilize. So it's a very sad one and all that, and so is Harvey Dent for that matter. And you could play that out. And besides, maybe, Scarlett Johansson, look, I did Black Widow. Do I have to put on another costume and jump around and stuff again? Come on. Well, the stunt double does most of the action. And so who knows where that would go. But even if they folded in Phantasm and Gilda into one character, I'd be fine with that one. I'm not fine with her possibly being Two-Face or Mr. Freeze, Miss Freeze, I guess it would. I don't know, because my guess is there's a serial killer at large for the mystery part of this story as it unfolds. And it's probably Scarlett is the actual suspect. Or it could be nothing of that at all, and she's just the poor suffering wife as her husband collapses into madness, and there's nothing she can do about it. Sebastian Koch has been announced in an undisclosed role, while Brian Tyree Henry has joined the cast. So either one of these could be Mr. Freeze or someone else. I don't know. So anyway, there you go. They're working on it. So there is a Batman movie on the way. Probably DC Studios' last best hope, even though he can do nothing for their DCU franchise because he's not in it. They're going to have their own Batman, provided they live long enough to get one off the ground. That's just the weird situation they've foolishly put themselves in. I don't understand it. But anyway, didn't really like the Batman. Loved the Penguin. Hopefully that type of approach to the story bleeds on into Batman Part 2. And if it does, this will be a damn good movie. So I'm hoping the second movie will be the charm in this case. And if that happens, you'll have, a smash hit, and they're going to have to make a part 3. So if somehow the DCU survives after its multiple stumbles at this point, they're going to have to go a long way without a Batman. That's a tough thing to do, because when it comes to DC, Batman's the star. Used to be Superman, but that's a long time ago now. Having Superman's great, but just cold, hard business matters, you need Batman. And you don't have him yet. Oh, well. Hopefully the Batman Part 2 is a good movie. Superman wasn't the DCU home run James Gunn needed. Well, you don't say. Really? Yeah, I mean, I saw the film. I saw what it made. It needed a hell of a lot more than that. So, nothing against Corn Sweat. I think, given the right circumstances, he could have been a good Superman. He's just not getting the opportunity. So Variety has once again confirmed what has been said about James Gunn's Superman all along. In a new profile on Supergirl star Millie Alcock, Variety notes that superhero movies are no longer automatic box office slam dunks. Well, they really weren't to begin with. That was mostly a Marvel thing until they screwed that up. The trade also points out Marvel and DC have both been hit or miss since Avengers Endgame, before turning to Gunn and Peter Safran's DCU launch. Variety writes that last summer's Superman made more than $600 million at the box office, which was considered a promising beginning, but not a home run. The trade adds, there is a lot riding on Supergirl, which I've always stated is not fair to Supergirl. Superman was supposed to hit a grand slam. He needed to. And in a lot of ways, that's not fair to Superman. This is a brand new movie opening up a potential new franchise and all that. And if it were, and you could isolate it from DCEU stuff and all that, then 600 million, it wouldn't be that bad. But then again, you got to look at how they judge the DCEU movies and all that, which made more money. And they still weren't happy with it. So even with adjusting for inflation, this was bad. And so now, and you have a failed HBO Max show that was the second season for Peacemaker, which the first season was pretty good. And apparently number-wise did very well. Not at all for the second one, which was just bad from the beginning and just got worse. It had little moments here and there. Tim Meadows and Eagly, best actors on the show. Not used enough. But the rest, it just devolved into absolute trash. And, and most people, I think, bailed after the first episode with the orgy and all that. So that was it. And I think it did way more damage than even the Superman movie. But nevertheless, there you are. And now we've got Supergirl, who's a snotty drunk. And then we've got Lanterns. It's not looking great. So anyway, that lines up with what has already been covered here, including the CEO of Netflix confirming Superman underperformed. Superman may have been spun as a win for the new DCU, but the numbers told a more complicated story. Yeah, it didn't produce what it needed to do. Box Office Mojo lists Superman with $618.7 million worldwide, including $354.2 million domestic and $264.5 million international. The international number makes up only 42.7% of its total gross, which is soft for a major superhero movie built around one of the most iconic and recognizable characters in the world. Oh yeah, Superman. The bigger problem is that Superman did not perform like a major reset for the DC brand. Well, it's the only reset they've had, so... Man of Steel made $670.1 million worldwide back in 2013, with $379.1 million coming from international markets. Adjusted for today's dollars, that puts Zack Snyder's Superman movie far ahead of Gunn's reboot at nearly $1 billion. Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, too long of a title, made even more, with Box Office Mojo listing $874.3 million worldwide. Adjusting for inflation, that would be well over $1.2 billion today, which is ironic because it didn't hit $1 billion at the time and they thought it would. And so then they, oh, God, we got to change course. Something's wrong. And that was it. And then, okay, but what they did to change course was insane. Yeah. Anyway, so while James Gunn's Superman cleared $600 million, it still made less than Man of Steel in raw dollars, and far less when inflation is considered. More important, it brought in less ticket sales, which means fewer fans went to see it. Yeah, see, that's the problem. See, the tickets are more expensive now. So even he said, well, look, it's pretty close to... No, not really. That's less people watching. It's just the tickets are more pricey. The issue was never only whether Superman could avoid disaster. The issue was whether it could relaunch DC as a dominant theatrical brand. And that's part of the problem as well. I mean, it's what they want to do. They come right out and say it and all that instead of, hey, we're making this Superman movie. It's a new one. See what you think. That kind of thing. And the Superman movie has to be a Superman movie that stands on its own. They didn't do that. They made a DCU movie. Superman is pretty much a guest star in his own movie. That's a huge problem with it. There's plenty of others, but that's a big one. And then the crazy crap of Jor-El being a fascist and all that. I mean, that was just stupid. But right off the bat, you know, you clutter it with all these other characters. Look, I like Mr. Terrific too, but not when it's at the expense of the main character. You know, having him have a few scenes maybe. But I think primarily, and you would have saved a lot of money if you cut this down to just the Superman cast. That means the Daily Planet people, Lex Luthor, you throw him in whether he's the main villain or not. And that's your cast. And then Superman's got to take on the villain, the monster, whatever it is. And he wins, of course. And you have your story that you unfold through that. But it was sort of this Justice League movie. You cluttered it with all these other characters and you teased all kinds of stuff like that and threw in a little silly moments and then weird crap again, like Jor-El being a fascist and all that. What the hell? You know? Variety's wording is important because it removes some of the spin. Promising beginning is not the same thing as a massive win, not a home run. Is not the kind of language you want attached to the first official movie in a new cinematic universe. This also follows the out reports about Superman not being financially successful amid a reported soaring budget and break-even concerns. The movie had to do more than simply survive. It had to prove the new DCU could compete at the highest level. That's right. That was the objective. And it didn't even really come close to that. Following its release, Gunn also billed Peacemaker Season number 2 as a direct sequel. Oh boy, was that a mistake. You knew what the first episode was, and you say, this is the follow-up to Superman. And oh my God. And of course, it ended up losing nearly half its audience and has essentially been canceled by HBO. It's incredible. Anyway, that brings everything back to Supergirl. Variety says there's a lot riding on the movie, and that is exactly the point. If Superman was only a promising start, then Supergirl has to show the DCU can expand beyond Gunn's first movie and bring in a larger audience. Supergirl does not have Superman's built-in box office ceiling, and the movie is already facing questions about its budget, its tone, and whether general audiences are interested in this version of Kara-Zor-El. Superman was supposed to be the clean relaunch. Instead, even Variety is now framing it as a decent start, but not a true breakout. For Gunn and Safran, that puts the pressure on Supergirl to deliver. DC does not need another movie that can be spun as promising. It needs a real hit, which is unfair to, you guessed it, Supergirl. So what do you do in the midst of this? Now, they said there was more interest in it and it was doing better than Mortal Kombat and stuff like that. Maybe there's some promise for it. So, hey, what do you do in the meantime? Oh, Supergirl attacks fans again as box office red flags grow. The absolute worst thing you can do. So, Millie Alcock in this Variety article has released a new cover story titled Just fucking go for it. How Supergirl star Millie Alcott learned to ignore the trolls and became a punk rock superhero. So this is in keeping with how they're presenting the character, that she's this pissed off, snotty bitch who gets drunk all the time and only really cares about her puppy dog. I'm assuming that this is a hero's journey story where she learns to be a heroic figure by the end of the movie. But regardless, you're not playing the role anymore when you're promoting the movie. And this is really stupid. The interview comes after Alcock previously addressed potential fan backlash to Supergirl. See, you're already anticipating it. He's, yeah, well, there's a lot of trolling online and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Sell me the movie. Don't make excuses for why anyone would think it's bad when no one's seen it yet, except, a handful of people who saw screeners and whatnot. But other than that, you need to sell this movie. This isn't doing it. Where she talked about online reactions and how fans discuss women in major franchise roles. So again, you can see why they put Captain Marvel here. Yeah, and boy, look how much that worked out so great. The variety piece presents Alcock as a confident new DC star who has learned to deal with online criticism. No, she hasn't. The article also makes it clear Supergirl is a movie with a lot of writing on it, especially after James Gunn's Superman pooped the bed. According to the interview, Alcock says she drew from her House of the Dragon experience. Well, I don't think we should see any of that in Supergirl, where online fandom pitted younger cast members against the older versions of the same characters. What? The piece then shifts into superhero fandom, describing it as a battleground for backlash, organized attacks, trolls, and incels. Alcock also responds to the reaction from her previous Vanity Fair comments, where she said people have become comfortable with a weird ownership of women's bodies. In the new Variety interview, Alcock says she didn't even say men. Oh, man. Sure. Well, if you meant everybody, well, then if you're talking about women as well, then women own their own bodies, don't they? Adding that the online reaction proved her point. No, it didn't. Nobody's owning your body. I mean, when you have online videos, well, the suit doesn't look like the Supergirl outfit in the comic. Actually, hers is pretty close, even more than Superman. So, I mean, I don't know about all the little lines and stuff they do. Marvel started that, and they all do it nowadays for superhero suits. I don't really care, but she looks the role for the most part. I don't know. I don't know what the hell she's talking about. However, here is the problem. Attacking fans, yes, it never works. And you broad brush it. If there was some specific critic or something like that and you wanted to address it and they got something wrong, this is really stupid. Maybe Alcock is simply answering the question she's being asked. It's possible, yes. But, and that, she's really smart and on her game, and she's not in this arena. I liked her in House of the Dragon. I thought she did a good performance. I don't really know her from anything else, and maybe and she can only do the role she's given. However, this was written for her. Right from the trailers and stuff, it's not really doing the movie any service. For the most part. And that's not really on her. It wasn't on Brie Larson either for Captain Marvel. But these kind of remarks and stuff, and you're like, I guess, staying in character for this. This is stupid. Yeah. I mean, it seems like lately Brie Larson learned her lesson and just, yeah, no, I'm not talking about that crap anymore. you know, and but if you wanted to look at an example, there was one. Yeah. So either way, the campaign is now putting the attention on trolls, incels, and toxic fandom instead of selling audiences on why they should pay to see Supergirl. You see, this is the thing. You don't want to be considered one of these people, do you? No. So buy that ticket and go see the movie. No, you want them to buy the ticket to see Supergirl because they want to see Supergirl, that they're excited about it, that it looks like a cool adventure. I want to go watch this. And you've got to get that across. Your basic obligation to the film, as beyond performing in it, is to promote it by, we had a great time. We worked really hard on this movie. It's a cool adventure. And please come and see it. And I really hope you enjoy it. The end. That's it. The other stuff, I didn't know a lot about Supergirl, but I really got into it while, doing the research and stuff. And there's this cool aspect here and there. Hey, I don't want to spoil the movie in particular, but, that kind of discussion and whatnot, all that's fine. Because it's all positive for the movie. Yeah. Anticipating an argument, anticipating one, and just broad brushing, I don't know, masses of people like that, it is foolish. And plus, you've already seen this play out. It does not end well. A $200 million superhero movie should not be spending its pre-release window picking fights with the audience. It should be selling the character, the action, the story, Crypto, Lobo, and why this version of Kara Zor-El is worth showing up for. There you go. Exactly. That's it. Instead, the message is starting to sound familiar. If you don't like it, you might be part of the problem. Yeah, that doesn't work. So they're looking up at Supergirl. They're like, what are you doing? Didn't you... Oh, that's right. She didn't see our movie. Well, you did see the results, right? Yeah, it didn't go well. It didn't go well. Even though, yeah, Brie Larson's Captain Marvel was a bit more likable in Marvels than she was in her first movie. But it was too late. The damage had been done. And it Marvels wasn't a great movie. It's too bad. Ms. Marvel's little show is probably their best Marvel show. That's the interesting thing about all this. Nobody saw it, just me. But, whatever. And she doesn't go around crapping on people all the time. This little girl here is a good example of how to present yourself. Yeah. I think Brie learned by now. She doesn't seem to be like that now. Hopefully that'll help her as she seeks other projects and stuff. But, man, oh man, Miss Alcock, what are you doing? Marvel already went down this road with Brie Larson. Captain Marvel rode the Avengers Endgame wave to over $1 billion. Well, Infinity War, yeah. But the Marvels didn't have that same protection and collapsed at the box office. Yeah, it was massive. The lesson is simple. You don't grow an audience by lecturing it. You make a movie people want to see and let the movie speak for itself. Yeah. The Acolyte suffered from similar problems. Well, good Lord. As did Rachel Zegler and Snow White, Disney's Doctor Who. The list goes on. Supergirl is also not Superman. The character does not have the same built-in box office ceiling. And the movie is already facing questions about whether it can break out beyond the hardcore DC fan base. Probably not. And it comes back to it, despite all of this and the foolishness of Alcott's comments and whatnot, as she's in an unfair position. It's like this thing needs to break out far beyond. So even if it just does well for the movie that it is, that won't be good enough because Superman failed. So the odds are enormously stacked against it on top of everything else. So this is, again, more to the point. Already this was a bad way to promote your movie. Doubly so now. The film is also selling a much different Kara, punk rock, messy, damaged, and not the clean-cut version fans may expect. Maybe it works. I don't think so. But making Backlash part of the campaign sends the wrong signal. Yes. The weird thing about this is, like, I don't like Tom King's writing. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is probably his best work. Granted, he stole the plot top to bottom from True Grit, but nevertheless, it's not that bad. And Supergirl isn't really like this. At the beginning, she's drunk. She goes to a red sun planet so she can get drunk because she's depressed about her birthday and missing Krypton and all that. And, it makes sense for the narrative that's presented there. And then she's off on the adventure that the story tells. The movie sounds like it wants to just stretch that drunk scene and personality out for the entirety of the movie. At least that's how the trailers are presenting it. So, yeah, Lobo was supposed to be in the comic book, but they said he couldn't have him, so he wasn't a part of it. It would have just been a cameo. And he's probably more of a glorified cameo in this movie, but I believe they had to do some reshoots to do more of him because, yeah, they need him in there and say, hey, look, Jason Momoa is Lobo in this movie. You got to see that, DC should be selling Supergirl as a must-see sci-fi superhero adventure. Right. Instead, the campaign keeps circling back to trolls, backlash, and fan behavior. Fans are allowed to be cautious. Turning normal skepticism into a fight might win praise for the trades, but it doesn't sell tickets. Yeah, I don't know why they keep chasing the trades. What evidence do you have they have any influence left? It's been 10 years of this crap. Rinse, lather, repeat. Well, good luck with that. Well, James Gunn confirms Millie Alcock is back for Man of Tomorrow. So Millie Alcock is officially back as Supergirl, Following speculation after Alcock was spotted in Atlanta, Variety has now confirmed that the actress will return as Kara Zor-El in Gunn's next DCU movie. In Variety's piece, DC Studios co-head Peter Safran also says Supergirl is a major part of what they are doing with the movie. Gunn then backed it up himself on social media, responding to the report by saying, I'm shooting with her now. She's wonderful. So there you go. There's Millie. I don't think that's her outfit for the movie, unless her cape is really long and it wraps all around her. But anyway, there she is. She's going to be in the movie. She seems upset in this scene, but that's from her own movie. Anyway, the speculation surrounding Man of Tomorrow is that Supergirl will help Superman take on Brainiac with Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor added to the mix to save Earth. Now, this makes a lot of sense, especially if they keep in a lot of different iterations of the Brainiac story. And, one of the video games actually depicted this, where, Brainiac comes to Krypton and he takes the city of Kandor, and Krypton is unable to do anything about this, and ultimately the iterations was that Zod, it's his hometown, he came from Krypton, and so a lot of that plays into his story as well. But nevertheless, the depiction was teenage Supergirl witnesses this, knows who Brainiac is and what he's capable of and all that sort of stuff. And then eventually, of course, Krypton explodes. Her little city survives for a little bit on a chunk of rock, and then that collapses into ruin, and she ends up on Earth. So the story and that narrative of Supergirl being introduced for a Superman versus Brainiac movie always made sense. And I had a lot of hope that they would do that with Henry Cavill. And when they introduced Sasha Calle in the Flash movie, that they would unite them. And a Man of Steel 2 would involve him taking on Brainiac, and you would have Supergirl there explaining and filling in the gaps about who this entity is and all that sort of thing to help Superman as he has to take down Brainiac. So they're going to do something similar to that here. So Brainiac makes sense as a villain for a Superman follow-up, especially with Supergirl involved. The character has deep ties to Krypton in DC Comics, including the bottled city of Kandor and the wider mythology surrounding Superman and Supergirl's home planet. So maybe, maybe Kandor will be featured in this. There's scenes from, it's very brief in some of the teasers for the Supergirl movie that looks like there's this shield forming around a city. It might be her city of Argo, being shielded off to protect it from the destruction of Krypton in an attempt to survive. Or that might be Brainiac stealing the city of Kandor. Yeah. And sticking it in a bottle. So the actor playing Brainiac, Lars Edinger, I don't know. Sorry, Lars. Recently described the DC villain as the incarnation of Satan. So, well, he is the villain. So, Kara's presence also gives Gunn a way to expand the DCU's Kryptonian story through both Superman and Supergirl instead of keeping the two characters separate. Well, yeah. She is part of the Superman story. And they're not going to like that in their modern approaches, that she has to have her own, no, she's a derivative character of Superman. That's the way that goes. Just like, well, Lex Luthor and Lois Lane. It's the same, it all comes out of Superman. And especially in the Brainiac story, it's good to have her there, narratively speaking. There's Luthor and Superman hanging out. Man of Tomorrow stars David Cornsweet as Superman. Really? And Nicholas Hoult as Lex? When did this happen? Oh, yeah, they were in the first one. Alcock first debuts as Kara in Supergirl out next month. But Man of Tomorrow now looks to make her a key part of Superman's next chapter. At its core, it's about Clark and Lex. I relate to both of them. I relate to Lex's ambition and obsession, minus the murder, giggle tee-hee. And I relate to Superman's belief in people, his Midwestern values. They're two sides of me, Gunn previously said about the film. So it's all about Gunn. Wow. Who'da thunk it? That's it for the article. What power is Superman's coolest? I mean, they're all pretty damn cool, but ultimately it always goes back to flight, you just want to fly, don't you? Well, anyway, the main problem you've got here is not with Supergirl. I mean, I haven't seen Supergirl movie yet, but the Superman movie, not Superman himself, but Krypton. And Jor-El's message to Kal-El. Maybe this arrogant, snotty attitude of Kara makes a lot more sense if that's the type of people Kryptonians were. I think it's a bad approach to the story. And then you've got to deal with this. Now, unless there's just some line in there where Kara, Dad always said Uncle Jor-El was a little nutty. He had some crazy theories. It's still really nasty and damaging to a decades-old character. For what? For what reason? Other than, hey, this will be an immigration narrative and how Superman's an immigrant and he adapted to the ways of Earth rather than Krypton. He remembers Krypton. Well, he doesn't remember it, but he, obviously understands that that's where he came from and all that sort of stuff. But basically he's an Earthman, just with really cool powers, and that's how it plays out. That was true without his father being some, fascist. I mean, it was bizarre. They threw that in there. The only thing that made sense, and it was kind of all Lex Luthor screwed with the message. He's framing Superman as an invader, as a conquering alien, to turn the public against him, which goes a long way. It makes sense. That would work as a plot by Lex Luthor. He went to the Fortress of Solitude to find something on Superman. And he finds that instead, says, well, maybe we can make this work, and does that. But the movie never says that. Now, people say, well, maybe they'll approach it in the and find out in the sequel that it wasn't true. And you needed that to be in the movie. It's presented within the narrative of the film. It needed to have its conclusion there. Especially, this is your out of the gate first film in this new series of films you're planning to do. And you just drop that in there and then think you can just laugh it off. And now you got Supergirl, and well, if Man of Tomorrow is supposed to clean that up, then what kind of person is Supergirl if she's from a society like that? Yeah. So once again, you do damage for a Supergirl film, and now it's stuck with the burden of having to try to keep the DCU afloat so that it can live long enough to be, I mean, you're going to get Man of Tomorrow no matter what. But odds are it might be the final film of the DCU, at least as it is now. The stumbles of Superman goes a long way in shutting this down before it even gets started. So that's a problem. But plot-wise, yeah, it would make sense for Supergirl to be a part of the story because she knows who Brainiac is and Superman doesn't. That's how that works out. The Batman, part number 2. First set footage reveals Gotham police scene in Liverpool. Well, it's posing as Gotham, you know? So there you go. Batman part 2 is officially rolling cameras in the first. All right, that concludes the DCU stuff. Another thing on that business about Jor-El is James Gunn himself said, no, that's what he really believes. Lex Luthor didn't do that. So, and then to suddenly come in and say, I was kidding, I guess. Yeah, that was really stupid. But he did it. So that's how that works out for that one, I suppose. So still, it's like, well, so how do you explain Supergirl? If that's just, yeah, that's why she's such a snot. You know, and she's, comes from an arrogant society and all this sort of stuff. And then, the course of the movie, she begins to realize, I need to care about other people besides just myself and my dog. So I suppose that could be the thing, but that's really weak and pretty stupid. And it's also, it's already established in the movie that Superman and Kara know each other. She's been around. And this sort of thing has never come up because within the story, he's stunned to see the image of his father, saying this. He was unaware of this. And so it's kind of unfixable, especially, again, considering Supergirl. I mean, it's just like, it would have come up. So, yeah, it's really stupid what they did there. And in a lot of ways, probably the worst part about it, other than the cluttering of the film and everything, which was pretty bad, but not as bad as something like that. So, and to try to fix it after the fact is rather pathetic and damaging to the overall product. It's just like James Gunn's initial instincts when he was first offered Superman way back when, and he said, "Yeah, I'm not the guy for a Superman movie." He was right, but this time around, they're like, "Hey, you're the Marvel guy, and we really want you to do a DCU like you guys did the MCU." And well, it's not magic. It doesn't really work that way. And it's unfortunate. So, yeah, it's quite a mess. But, hey, good luck with that. All right, let me go ahead and pop in the other one. Oh, wait, let me see here. They're making all the heroes no-class bums. Heroes are supposed to inspire, not live in muck and mire. Yeah, it's true. I mean, especially if nothing happens, like they go through that whole movie, and by the end, she's the same person. So then, this wasn't much of a character journey that the character learns. She's got her reasons for being bummed out. Her whole world was destroyed. She's not a happy camper. All that stuff is understandable. But at this point, considering what they've introduced here with Jor-El and the like, I have to be extremely dubious that that's even the purpose here. So anyway, can't be too optimistic. That all looks very, very foolish. So, okay, well, what's going on with Marvel? Well, we'll get to that, but first, or wait, maybe the Marvel thing does come first. I forget. Yeah. Spider Noir, final trailer release. Nicolas Cage series arrives May 27th. I'm still hyped for it. For the most things, I'm kind of, but this one, I'm really, I'm going to be let down, aren't I? I usually am, but I don't know. I did see the latest trailer. I don't play them because I never know what the rules are, but you can check it out yourself. None of the trailers have made me think, heard things about it that it leans more into comedy than, the noir business. And there's a few more little gags in this trailer, but if that's it to the minimum, that'll be fine. Prime Video has released 2 trailers and a new poster for Spider Noir, giving fans the final look at Nicolas Cage's live-action Marvel series before it premieres next week. Prime Video is opening the doors to B. Riley Investigations. In 1 week, B. Riley Investigations is open for business, Prime Video teased. This is the final trailer for Spider Noir, arriving May 27th on Prime. In true hue, full color, and authentic black and white. The choice, of course, is yours. The new footage leans into the show's crime drama tone, with Cage playing an older, worn-down version of Spider Noir. They can't call him Spider-Man. In 30s New York. So they're kind of a classic-looking poster. It's good stuff. There you go. And, yeah. I'll probably see it in color, though. Anyway, the poster confirms the series centers on B. Riley, a private investigator who gets pulled back into a dangerous case connected to his past as a superhero. Cage previously voiced Spider Noir in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but this marks his first time playing the character in live action. Really? Yes. Yeah. The new poster features Cage alongside the full supporting cast, with Spider Noir looming in the background. The design pushes the pulpy detective vibe, complete with gangsters, cops, webs, rain, and the city skyline. Prime Video is also pushing the show's 2 viewing options, authentic black and white and true hue full color. Watch below. Well, you can do that on your own time, but authentic black and white. So the show, it was actually shot in black and white, and then they went back and colorized it. Is that the deal? The series is part of Sony's Spider-Man universe and reimagines the Marvel hero through a darker detective story separate from Peter Parker. So ultimately, it comes down to they finally are able to do a Spider-Man movie with a Spider-Man in it. It's not Peter Parker. It's not even this right era. But boy, does it look interesting, you know? So there's the authentic black and white, just ignore the blue Prime logo. And then, oh my God, it's in true hue color. Yeah. He looks better in the suit at night, though. Yeah, maybe most of it will be that. But anyway, there you go. Spider Noir. Okay. Could just be Black Spider, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, get ready for that. Blade rumored for Avengers Secret Wars. Wesley Snipes or Mahershala Ali? What if it's both? You know, multiverse stuff. I mean, especially in Secret Wars, it could be. Blade is now rumored for Avengers Secret Wars, which immediately raises the big question. Which Blade? According to Scooper, Daniel RPK, Blade could be part of Secret Wars. RPK apparently didn't say if that means Wesley Snipes is returning after Deadpool and Wolverine, or if Marvel Studios is finally using the movie to debut Mahershala Ali after years of delays, rewrites, and cancellations tied to his solo film. Either way, the rumor adds another wrinkle to Marvel's long-running Blade problem. Boy, it's tough to do a movie about a guy who fights vampires, you know. How do you do that? If only there was something to refer to that's already done it. Oh, yeah. The rumor doesn't make clear which version of Blade is involved. Again, for Secret Wars, it could be both of them. And then you move on with Mahershala, if he still wants it. Good Lord, he's been waiting a long time. He might have to recast it yet again. So, anyway, Wesley Snipes would be the easier option. He already returned. Fans responded well, and Secret Wars gives Marvel a clean excuse to use the character again without having to explain much. Ryan Reynolds also said he wants Snipes back in the role. Mahershala Ali is the bigger question. Ali was announced as Blade all the way back in 2019, but the movie has been stuck in development hell ever since. Well, it led to Sinners. Yeah, I'll take that for what it's worth. Anyway, the project has gone through multiple delays, directors, writers, and release date changes. At one point, it was supposed to be a major piece of Marvel's supernatural side, but the movie still hasn't gotten off the ground. They couldn't figure out how to kick, Blade in the balls, which apparently was their main thing, and replace him with his daughter and all that sort of stuff. Using Secret Wars to finally introduce Ali's Blade could be one way to get the character into the MCU without waiting for the solo movie. It could also let Marvel test the waters before committing to another version of the Blade film. The Secret Wars rumor is also interesting because it follows a previous rumor from January that claimed Marvel had canceled the Blade movie and planned to use the character in Midnight Suns instead. The rumor suggested Blade would be part of Marvel's supernatural team-up plans rather than leading his own movie. Now, if you approached this the way you originally approached the MCU, you could have done a Blade movie and then a Ghost Rider movie and Werewolf by Night and stuff like that, and then they cross over in Midnight Suns. That's how you did Avengers, but, well, I guess do it ass backwards. I don't know. Anyway, Midnight Suns has long been rumored as one of Marvel's potential post-Avengers projects, especially with characters like Doctor Strange, Moon Knight, Werewolf by Night, Man-Thing, Elsa Bloodstone, and potentially Blade all sitting in the MCU or nearby. And all of these characters, with the exception of Blade, other than Wesley Snipes and Deadpool, have been introduced. So you were kind of already there. It's just the Blade movie should have already been done by now. But again, how do you do a movie about a guy who fights vampires? I don't know. That sounds hard. If Marvel doesn't know how to make Blade work as a solo movie, using him in an ensemble could be the fallback. Yeah, I guess. The rumor also lines up with what Marvel Comics is doing. Not anymore. I don't agree with this. Yeah, when they announced the Midnight line, I thought, oh, maybe that's what they're doing. They're getting ready for Midnight Suns. This thing doesn't have anything to do with Midnight Suns. Marvel recently announced its new Midnight Universe, which brings a darker, supernatural corner to the comics. Blade hasn't been confirmed for it yet, but the setup includes vampire-related stories involving major characters, including the X-Men. Yeah, he'll just be a guest star in an X-Men story. You know? I mean, eventually, I guess they could do try a comic called Midnight Blade. Yeah. But really, they should have done like a miniseries, a revival of Midnight Suns, and then see if that can spawn other titles, and you've got your own new line. Yeah. And you can have in your alternate or dark version. They're supposed to be within the continuity of Marvel, but if you wanted it to be separate and have more freedom with the characters, I suppose you could do that too. And then you could involve the other Marvel characters at some point as well. But instead, you're just going with X-Men, Spider-Man, and the Fantastic Four. That's not Midnight Suns. So anyway, that matters because Marvel Comics often lines up with where the MCU is headed. Yeah, now it's following it instead of being the inspiration for it. And just recently saw the big news that head of Marvel TV will be in charge of Marvel Comics. Yeah, well, look at the TV shows. Is he really the guy? I mean, I know Marvel Comics has sucked for quite a while now, but the shows, the comics don't always spoil the movies, but they often reflect the same brand direction. If Marvel is pushing supernatural stories, vampires, and midnight-style gags in the comics, it could be a sign the MCU still has plans for Blade and Midnight Suns. Well, the only thing you got there is, of course, those other characters had been introduced here and there, but you don't have a Blade movie, and the only other rumor really was that Ryan Gosling might have been interested in Ghost Rider, who is part of the Midnight Suns. So you maybe that could lead to it, but just because this Midnight line has been introduced, I don't see anything there unless there's a surprise and the Midnight Suns play a pivotal role in why that new universe exists and why it is the way it is and that sort of thing. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's what they'll do. But sorry, Mr. Harrigan, not really believing there's still hope for that. But, maybe. I mean, it has the word midnight in it. So maybe there's that. But a Blade movie following Secret War or being in Secret Wars and like, hey, which one? It could be both. If they're still wanting to continue with Mahershala Ali. Now, a lot of times they'll approach an actor and sometimes say, hey, this actor or that actor would be great for it. Yeah, but they want a good 10 years out of the actor. And, well, with Wesley, probably not so much at all. Maybe one movie you could get him to do that. Guest appearances and stuff like that and something like Secret Wars would be fine. And I don't know, maybe he could do at least a trilogy of Blade films again. And within the 10-year span, and you've had your Blade in a couple of appearances for the Avengers or something like that, provided this thing can last. I can do that. The same would go for Mahershala Ali, and he's like, oh, well, he's the younger actor. Not anymore. That's a long time ago now. and what other projects would he want to be involved in? And he's like, well, I got this Marvel thing, and how long you've kept him on ice for so long now. You really did him wrong here. So does he want to commit for the next 10 years that I'll be mostly available for these Marvel movies? Probably 3 solo films for his own character, and then who knows, 3 other films that involve him pitching in for, the likes of Avengers or maybe a Midnight Suns trilogy. Who knows? That kind of thing. And it's like, oh. But if you had a younger man who's, maybe early 30s, he'd be more perfect for that timeline, and also still kind of new and fresh and hungry for work, So anyway, yeah, I don't know. But as far as just basics of appearing in Secret Wars, It could be both of them, because that would fit into the narratives of it. So this version of Secret Wars has Battleworld being created by Doom, and it has pieces of the multiverse that makes the world. So there could be, realistically, there could be 3 or 4 Blades on that world, just like there will be 3 or 4 Spider-Men and all that. That kind of thing could happen. So having 2 Blades wouldn't be that big of a stretch. How much screen time would they get? Not a lot, but still, you know. And then the idea is, well, do we pass the baton between the 2 of them? Something like that in there, you know. I don't know, maybe so. But anyway, the future of Blade. I don't know. It's strange. It seems like that would have been a no-brainer, and they could have done this some time ago. Marvel's its own worst enemy, you know? It's embarrassing. King Conan shoots set for Duty 7 with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Christopher McQuarrie. So at long last, this story that was teased at the end of Conan the Barbarian, way, way back a long time ago, and has been teased again and again since. You know, and well, it seemed like all hope was lost for quite a bit. I mean, I think Arnold has certainly aged way beyond what the actual story would be. And of course, I mostly know of those years through Savage Sword of Conan and the comics and that sort of thing. He was. This might be a little touched up, I suppose, from the original shot at the movie, but he was a very young man dressed up in gray hair, But I think he maybe pushing 50 might have been about the time that the story could have been. But well, here we are. So Arnold Schwarzenegger King Conan movie is set to start filming 2027. Christopher McQuarrie directing. The updates come from the Arnold fans via producer Frederick Malmberg, as Arnold celebrated the 44th anniversary of the original 1982 movie. Schwarzenegger told the Arnold fans, "Next year we're going to do King Conan," adding that the movie is now a reality. He also said he has been pushing for years, yes, quite a few, to get the sequel made the right way. With a strong script and a filmmaker who understands Robert E. Howard, Frank Frazetta, and the spirit of the original movie. Hollywood Reporter adds and confirms Christopher McQuarrie is attached to write and direct the sequel for 20th Century Studios. McQuarrie has directed the 4 most recent Mission Impossible movies, which lines up with how Arnold previously described him as the filmmaker behind Tom Cruise's last 4 films. So, yeah, I mean, it pretty much confirms. I mean, who else could it have been? So Arnold also explained why the timing now makes sense. Well, I don't know, but I mean, it is what it is. So he said the movie would not have worked right after the original because the whole point is that Conan has been king for 40 years, is older, is no longer in his prime, and has grown tired and complacent before being forced back into battle. Well, I mean, maybe the novels are like that because, like I said, I'm familiar with his movies, of course, but the comics and primarily Savage Sword of Conan, and he wasn't all that. He was older than the regular Conan stories, but he wasn't that much older. So I don't know, but then again, he achieves his kingdom, and how long did he reign? So I guess you could say he's been king for 40 years. So this is going to be an original story. You just have to be able to capture the spirit of the original material. So Schwarzenegger compared the tone to Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven, but with extraordinary battles. Schwarzenegger also said he would like John Milius, who directed the original Conan the Barbarian, to come aboard as a producer. Reports also offer Conan is back, training hard for the role. Well, there's CGI and stuff too, Anyway, Arnold last played Conan in the original 1982 movie and 1984's Conan the Destroyer. And as silly as Destroyer was, it had more actual Conan elements in it. But but the original it's a cool movie. It's really great. It's better than Destroyer. But if only it could have maintained that tone and elements to it, but whatever. The Conan the Destroyer is a fun movie. He was not involved in the 2011 Conan the Barbarian reboot starring Jason Momoa, which was poorly received and failed to launch a new franchise. Well, obviously, if it had, well, then it probably would never have been a King Conan. So this follow-up is the real thing fans have been asking for all along. Arnold back as an older Conan with a story built around his age instead of ignoring it. Well, you have to. I mean, unless it was going to be an animated thing and they got him to be the voice actor, or if they do a massive de-aging or AI with it and just have him, I don't know, perform a couple of scenes where the AI can illustrate it, something of that nature. But instead, he achieved his kingdom and he's been there a while, and now he's in trouble of losing it. So it's one more battle and all that kind of thing. So yeah, it could work, and you got the right people in it crafting it and all that. And it could be a good movie. However, I think the proper timeline would have been at the time he decided to retire from acting and run for governor. Seeing how things turned out, he would have been better off not bothering with that at all. And what happened to California, I don't think anybody could have prevented. It was just the direction California was going to go. So not even having somebody like Schwarzenegger come in. He talked a good deal, but once he got in, he pretty much, he says, well, I'm outnumbered. I can't really do much. And stuff like that, I suppose, is how it went. But nevertheless, had he instead, after doing Terminator 3, then go and do King Conan. But of course, the recall thing happened. He saw it as an opportunity and he jumped in there. But that would have been a good time. Now, that being said, that would have been the ample time for him at the age he was then to jump in and do a King Conan film. And who knows, they might have gotten 2, maybe even 3 out of that if it had been the smash hit and all that kind of thing. But nevertheless, that would have been the time for him to do it. The problem is the stuff they're discussing here. Would the script would it been worth the crap? And he looks at it and goes, oh my God, no, this is stupid. And that kind of thing. You don't get the right guy. You clash with the guy you thought would be good and it falls apart. All that type of stuff, which happens to every movie, big and small. And so, those factors could have derailed it. But still, I saw that as the window for him to do it at that, because it was already at a late date for it. And it's kind of like Terminator 3 and then, King Conan would have been these sort of bookends of his career as he was aging out of those roles at the time. But still, a narrative of an old king who clawed and fought his way to power and that sort of thing, and now he's at the twilight of his years. It's a theme that can resonate, and they could still do a pretty damn good movie out of that. So, I'm not like down on the whole concept. I might even really like this. So, we're getting a King Conan. So we'll make of that what we will when it arrives. Spider Noir, final trailer release. Nicolas Cage series arrives May 27th. And I'm still hyped for it. For the most things, I'm kind of, but this one, I'm really, I'm going to be let down, aren't I? I usually am. All right, that's it for those videos. Oh boy, what a great collection of stuff to look forward to. And you never know, some of that stuff might work out. Spider Noir looks interesting, kind of key. So, got hopes for that one. Supergirl, well, we'll see. But that's a terrible way to market your movie. It's not as if there aren't examples of why that's a bad idea, but doing it anyway for whatever reason. And, Conan, it's just should have been done sooner, but you never know. Maybe they got something there, and it'll be all right. What happened to there they are. So here we have Zumak the Z-Man flying with a bottle of Tito's and his selfie stick and his phone, live streaming from that. Here we have Chrissy Mayer and Brittany Venti as comic book characters getting ready to battle. Brittany has her gavel because she judges, well, everybody except herself. And then, of course, Karmic X and Felicia. Yeah. At odds for now. So anyway, there we go. There's those doodles and my Nailsin ratings videos. So thanks for watching and watching me draw and listening to my videos on those movies that you may or may not go see. And if you don't, well, hey, that's your business. You don't have to. Nobody's going to make you. No one's going to twist your arm or anything like that. They might call you certain, derogatory terms for not going to see it. That appears to be the strategy. They still think they can shame you into watching their movies. It's strange. Didn't work for Ghostbusters 2016. Didn't work for the Star Trek shows. Didn't work for Doctor Who. Let's see. Well, a lot of the Star Wars stuff didn't work for that. And it's weird. But I guess they think, hey, you know what? It's the first time for everything. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll all see how that works out. So anyway, again, thanks for watching. And, wait. Well, I'm still on there. Well, I'll visit with you again soon, hopefully. Maybe tonight. I'm just not certain. But there we go. That's it for Nailsin Ratings Live. It will soon not be live, but of course you can always rewind the video and watch me draw pictures while those videos comes out, or just wait a while. I'll be posting them separately. That's usually how that works. Yeah. Anyway, have a good rest of your day.
Pop goes the culture. Pop, 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 pop goes the culture. Myths and legends, grants and escape to heaven. A darker, taller tale gives a tour of hell. Pop goes the culture. Pop goes the culture. Pop, 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 pop goes the culture.
And now commentary from our very own Trixie Turner. Trixie?
Doug panties can ride up, but thongs don't because they're already up there.